Hello and welcome. I'm Susan Hyde, and I am here to share with you a pretty darn remarkable story. And I know that this story gives others hope. And so I hope that is for you, or it may be somebody that you know in your life that it may not have lupus, maybe another autoimmune issue. And so being empowered is really important. And we know through some research and just diving in, autoimmune issues are on the rise, unfortunately, but there are a lot of similarities. And so I'm hoping that this information is helpful to you. So I will be covering my story briefly, how to be your best advocate, the lifestyle changes and things that I implemented, and then we'll just kind of wrap things up at the end. So first off, a disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose or treat anyone. I'm not claiming any of the products that I'm going to share with you healed me. I'm just a normal person who changed their lifestyle, which resulted in allowing my body to help itself to return to a state of wellness. So I will be unable to treat anyone or give advice. You will need to do your own research and make your own decisions with the information that I share. I want you to be empowered. So here we go. This quote I have had in the back of my mind for years, and you may have heard this before. You can trace every disease and every ailment to a mineral deficiency. This is 2 times Nobel laureate Dr. Linus Pauling. Yes. That is a powerful quote. So a little bit about me. I am 57 years old at the time of this recording. I'm married for 16 and a half years. We have a blended family. We have 4 children. I've got 2 biological children, a stepson, and then we have an adopted son. And then my older children are married now, so a very full life, lots of things that take up my time and bring a lot of joy in. I was born and raised here in Seattle, and now we are back in the Seattle area, and that is where I reside now. So part of my story, about 15 years ago, I began experiencing symptoms that nobody could diagnose. So this shouldn't surprise you if you are in that space of having symptoms but no label to go with those symptoms, or nobody has been able to determine what is wrong, right? So that was me, and this went on for several years. So I had unexplained heart palpitations, increased anxiety. I had a racing heart. I had fatigue and brain fog. I had a butterfly rash on my face. I had joint pain, especially my ankles and my feet. I had sensitivity to sunlight. There were periods where I wore a heart monitor. I had some testing done for strep, mono, arthritis. I had an ANA test, and it all came back negative. Then one day I noticed a red spot on my face. So I called a dermatologist, I had a biopsy, and it came back with a diagnosis of cutaneous lupus, which was discoid lesions. That was where my journey really began. So that may be, familiar to you, all of these symptoms, but not having a diagnosis until, right? So I did some research on systemic lupus. So cutaneous lupus is what you see on people's skin. Systemic lupus is what transpires in the body. So seeing as I had a lot of symptoms, and then my research and understanding systemic lupus, I was like, there's something that's not matching up here because I seem to fit the profile. So I yet had an ANA negative test. And so I didn't have any rheumatologist that would say that I had a confirmed case of lupus, systemic lupus, because of that ANA negative test. So I proceeded to go back to multiple different rheumatologists. After much perseverance, I got an appointment at the University of Washington, and the overseeing physician there for that learning school, that department, did diagnose me with lupus. He said, you have ANA negative lupus. And 98% of all people with systemic lupus have a positive ANA test. But I'm part of that 2% that showed no ANA positive. I was an ANA negative. So let me just touch on how to be your best advocate. Because if I had not chosen to continue to push the envelope, to continue to find somebody to help me, I'm not sure where I would be at this point. So you must do your own research. Yes, the internet is great. I mean, even, 15 years ago, it's come a long way. We have a lot more places to get information, but there's a lot of things that are kept from us too. So dig in, friend, as much as you can. And respect your intuition. I knew deep down there was an issue, and I was not going to settle for just kind of hanging out and just being. So if you feel like something is off, keep pushing to find out, and then find a doctor who will support your decisions and desires. So I was lucky enough, that doctor that did diagnose me, he agreed to see me as his patient, and that was one of the best things that could have happened. And I'll share more to that story. So they were in favor of me getting off of the medication that I was initially prescribed to get some of my symptoms under control. So here is a picture of me at the beginning and then also after. So you can see the picture there where it's in 2012. Those were the lesions that I had on my face. I experienced pain. They were extremely itchy. They were embarrassing. I can remember my son was baptized at church, and I had to try to cover that up with makeup, and it was so embarrassing. And I wasn't that successful, so I look at pictures and I can see it. But over the course, and after I share, what I chose to do, is what my skin looked like after 5 years. And I don't experience any lesions. I don't have any issues anymore. I really feel so incredibly grateful. So cutaneous discoid lupus and systemic lupus. So I had seen a new dermatologist about the lesions on my face that were, as you can see, they were pretty significant. I also had a lesion on my scalp where I lost a considerable amount of my hair. I started on hydroxychloroquine, which is also Plaquenil, on a low dose, but side effects on this were a bit harsh, having to have my eyes checked every 6 months because it could cause loss of vision or vision changes. I also took a low-dose steroid for 6 weeks to calm my system down. So at that time, the attending intern did some research on a certain medication I'd been taking for over 15 years, and it was showing in some studies to give false lupus symptoms. So he suggested I get off the medication. So that was actually what led me to look at Young Living. It wasn't because I was diagnosed with lupus. It was because I was on a medication for depression that I wanted to get off. That's what actually led me to Young Living. So during that time, I looked at different essential oil companies and tried some different ones, but ultimately they did not provide what I wanted. And I chose Young Living, began using those oils. But the problem was that over a course of time, I was able to wean myself off of the medication I was on with the help of my doctor, and it did not relieve my symptoms. So the verdict was the medication wasn't causing the issue. I, in fact, had lupus. And so it was a pivotal time just to know, okay, this is what we're dealing with. But the benefit was I no longer was on that medication, right? Anytime that we can get off of a medication that perhaps our body does not have to have, that's a win, right? That's a victory. So, so before I jump on, I want to share this image that just shows my blood work. And so that was where we really could see the progress that I made over the course of time with my lupus. So you'll see there on the one side, the 2012 blood work. I had always low white blood cell count, red blood cell count, and platelet count. Those were my huge indicators that my body was not in a good place. And so as we did some of the things that I'm going to share with you, we were able to get those to a place where they were within the normal range, and they had stayed within the normal range. And I'll just insert this. I probably should make a new slide because I had actually went back to my rheumatologist. It was a good 4 or 5 years after this, I think maybe 2019, 2020, just to have my levels checked again, and I was still within range. And so that was really, really encouraging. So, but this is how you have some proof to show for the efforts that you put in, right? So what did I do during this process? Okay, so I already told you I was on 2 medications, right? I was on a low-dose steroid for a period of time that lasted just about 6 weeks. It calmed my skin down enough so that I could make some progress. And then I was on the hydroxychloroquine, the Plaquenil. So my goal, and I told my rheumatologist, is I was wanting to get off. I would wean myself off. He was supportive of that. I would say he thought I was probably a little bit, but that's okay because I will take that crunchy granola title and go for it. So the first things I decided to change were within my diet. At that time, I was a huge consumer of Coffee Mate coffee creamer. Okay, nasty stuff. Oh. I drank sodas. I was into Doritos and Wheat Thins and Taco Bell. It was, I can look back now and I'm like, who was that person? But you know what? We all start somewhere, and we learn and we make changes over the years, right? And so these were some of the first changes that I made. I also had another friend that had been diagnosed with lupus, and she said, you need to go gluten-free. I saw a tremendous difference when I went gluten-free. And so I did. I went gluten-free. I also decided to consume only raw dairy for the most part. So that was another element that I put in place. So I fed my body good whole food. I used real salt. So I wanted to get the minerals from the salt. So I didn't use table salt. I used grass-fed and free-range meats. I took a taste for kombucha, and I even was making my own for a period of time. And I went organic as much as possible. So I'm still showing signs of glyphosate, which is amazing to me. I mean, I try to eat clean now. As much as possible, but we know, right, that stays in your body for a long time, and when we eat out or something, that can be introduced back in. So it's just so interesting how that is. And if you are unaware, glyphosate is the active ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup, which is an herbicide. So it is important to realize how your body responds. Everybody's body is different, right? So I try to eat clean as much as possible, and that's what I did then. So avoiding things that have any kind of glyphosate in them is going to be really important. So this was an interesting study that came up a few years ago, and it was research saying the autoimmune issues are all related to an unhealthy gut. And as I have learned from that period of time till now, I would say I would agree with this. This is a February 2019 study. It says a new study in women now suggests that systemic lupus, also known as lupus or SLE, is linked to the overgrowth of a certain bacteria in the intestines. So I believe now, looking back, a lot of the things that I did were an element to heal my gut. That is how my body was able to overcome this lupus diagnosis. So do your research on how to restore gut health. So there are lots of pieces to that, but just know every single step you do and moving forward is going to be helpful. Look at your labels. So if it's not a real food item, should you really be consuming it? Because when we introduce things that aren't real food, it puts so much more stress on our body. So it's taking away from the energy that our body could actually use to heal your gut, right? So it's all about choices. So I focused on my health, and I will say one of the things that was huge was my introduction to the Young Living community. So many in our community just are rich in education and experience, and the best part is they're so willing to share that. And that has been the biggest blessing. So not only did I change my diet, I began replacing things in my home and went for a non-toxic lifestyle. So cleaning items, those were some of the first to go. I spent years cleaning homes of not only my own home, but of others. I worked as a house cleaner for about 7-8 years. When I was a single mom, I needed that income. And so I was breathing in those chemicals 5 days a week outside of just my own cleaning. So that was a big burden on my system. So the Thieves Household Cleaner was a huge game changer. And now we have like the scrub and just so many amazing replacements that help. So skincare and personal care items. Ladies, especially men, you're included too, but the women especially, you have got to stop slathering your body with chemical, synthetic lotions, makeup. These all add up, right? And I did not really realize, I just it did not even occur to me how this could be impacting my health and my immune system. So body soap, body wash. I'm sorry, body soap and body wash are the same, but face wash and makeup, facial scrubs, all of this adds up. So when you use products filled with synthetic ingredients day after day, you begin to have what is called a bioaccumulation, meaning your body is taking in the chemicals on your skin or in your mouth, yet it cannot expel it as fast as you are taking it in. So it is overloaded and it stresses your body. So I kind of touched on this a little bit, but it is really wanting to take away that burden on your body so it can use its energy to heal. So first I changed my diet, then it was non-toxic products, both in my cleaning and my home environment and also personal care. The next step was really focusing on self-care. So having an illness is hard, especially an autoimmune illness, which once my face began to clear up, it was hard. Like, it's not like you have an illness that people can understand. They can't see it, right? And so the fatigue and the muscle aches and the brain fog, people can't see that, but it still is taxing on your body. So I focused on prayer. I started celebrating the small victories, and I took time to enjoy what I could enjoy. So I took baths often. Epsom salt is going to be your best friend. And when you can add oils into that, it's just like a double whammy of goodness. So Epsom salt has magnesium, which is amazing for your body. Remember, in this word self-care, what nourishes you? It isn't always just the spa things, right? We want to know what fills us up. So know for yourself. Maybe you need to write down on a little card, what are those things that you enjoy doing that actually gives your body energy? Because I think as women especially, we forget what those things are, and it can be really hard to know, what can I do to nourish myself? So emotional health. So for me, part of my story is that I weaned myself off of antidepressants at the beginning of this journey. That's what brought me to Young Living, was looking for alternatives to help nurture my emotional health. So I was seeing a mental health professional. I needed a place to have an outlet for all of the feelings and things that I was experiencing. So just knowing that and having that as a resource is really critical. So oils that helped me a lot in that season: Joy, Harmony, Sacred Mountain. It is one of my favorites. People laugh because I talk about it all the time, and one of my friends labeled it a hug in a bottle. That's what I think Sacred Mountain is. Frankincense, Endoflex, Brain Power, Transformation, Northern Lights Black Spruce, and Release. All very, very powerful. So I talked about diet changes as well as the other lifestyle changes, and now I'm going to chat actual ways I supported my body to recover, which include Young Living essential oils and their products. So I really began adding things that would improve my body in a positive way. And so one of the things that I like to suggest, and especially now when I work with a new member that may have a lot of different issues they're trying to troubleshoot, I always like to recommend one or two things at the beginning and then add in things if you're not seeing complete results that you are, looking for. Because if you decide, oh my gosh, I just watched Susan's video and I'm going to add, 22 new things into my routine, you're not going to really know what helped you, maybe what didn't help you, really what is, I would say, that the least amount of things that maybe you can get by with in order to achieve your desired result. And so I just kind of like to do a stepping stone approach. And so I'm going to share a lot of things that I did, but just remember what I said. You may choose just one or two of these things to start implementing, see how that goes, and then after a couple months, add in a few more. So Young Living essential oils. So this was profound to me, and I always love to share this with others when they're wondering, well, I take this particular brand of a multivitamin or a B vitamin. What makes Young Living different? So clinical experience has shown that before putting essential oils into multigreen's formula, there was a 42% blood absorption in 24 hours. After adding the essential oils to the formula, blood absorption increased to 64% in 30 minutes and 86% in 1 hour. The conclusion was that the cells were now receiving nutrients that they had previously not been able to assimilate. Okay, I'll say that again. There was a 42% blood absorption in 24 hours. Then they added essential oils into that, and it happens to be the multigreens, which I'll talk about. After they added essential oils to that formula, blood absorption increased to 64% in 30 minutes. So it went from 42 to 64, and then after an hour, it was at 86%. So that is why taking a supplement from Young Living that has essential oils in it is by far better for your body. You are actually getting more of that goodness absorbed and used by the cells in your body. So over the course of the 5 years of my journey of going through this process of healing my body, these are what I used. So Ningxia Red. So I will say right off, oftentimes people say, oh, but I have an autoimmune issue. I'm not supposed to be using, products like the wolfberry. That is a no-no. And I will say everybody is different. So I would encourage you to look. Nightshades, I think they've gotten a bad rep. Yes, there are people that have reactions to them, but to make a blanket statement like that, I think is really dangerous, because I used Ningxia Red, I did not have any issues, and it was definitely part of my my healing journey. So, and at that time, I was taking 2 to 6 ounces a day. I think we've seen now, gosh, if I would even have taken more during those first few months of adding Ningxia into my routine, maybe that would have went quicker for me. I don't know. We've seen amazing things. So, but Ningxia is great for supporting energy, normal cell function. It's great as a whole body nutrient. So I love it. The next one, which kind of goes off of that, the quote that I said, you can trace every disease and every ailment to a mineral deficiency. Here we go, mineral essence. So you either love it or you hate it. So it is a balanced full spectrum ionic mineral complex that has essential oils in it. I began using this early on in my journey, and I do believe it was a real key piece in not only giving my body what it needed, but also healing my gut, which was what I was really after, but I didn't really know it completely at that time, to be honest. So I take 5 dropperfuls in my Ningxia Red daily. So citrus oils. So I love using citrus oils, and I would alternate, but I will tell you, the one oil that I took with great results was lemon. I took it in a capsule every morning, and you can look in an old essential oils desk reference, and you can even see research that talks about lemon oil taken internally helping platelet counts. And so you can see when I shared my blood work that was an area that my body struggled. I had low platelet, and so I did that, and I saw great results. So Copaiba was another oil that I used. It's great for helping with that inflammatory response. I would just drop it under my tongue. I would use it in a capsule, and you can put it in your Ningxia. So one of the other goodies is sulfurzyme. So I prefer the capsules. Young Living has it in a powder as well, but here's the capsule. The powder has a little bit of a sweetener in it, and so, but I love the capsules. It makes it super easy just to grab a handful and get it down. This was really one of the key pieces. It has wolfberry in it, which is great. It has MSM in it, which is a naturally occurring organic form of dietary sulfur, which is needed in our bodies, and I believe it really had an impact. And then this one as well, Agiles, okay, another capsule. It was phenomenal. So if you are one that has any kind of joint discomfort, Agiles is going to be your best friend. And so I really don't have to take it anymore. I haven't really had to for years. Sometimes I'll scan for it and I'll add it into my routine, but it is not a daily supplement for me. Another one that I incorporated was Super B. That was really great for energy boosting and then also mood support. And then really one of my favorites is the multigreens here, which I talked about in that study about the blood absorption rate, but this is a capsule as well. So many good pieces with multigreens. It has chlorophyll formula, which is so good. 3 to 6 a day is what I will take. I will muscle test myself and see what my body is needing. But I will say, here is, I feel, the big kahuna. It is longevity, and it comes in a little capsule. We are lucky that we have had this back now, I think, for about a year. I was so disappointed when it went out of stock. It was out of stock for several years, and I knew that this product was one of the key pieces for me and my body. So it has thyme, orange, and frankincense in it, and it is a powerhouse. So it's great. I also used a few other oils, Exodus 2 and Immu Power, right? I wanted to support my immune system, so I would use those topically. Endoflex is a great one for the endocrine system, so I would use that. Prenolone Plus. This cream I have used for well over 9 years. It has pure pregnenolone, MSM, progesterone from soy, DHEA, and other essential oils. I just have loved it for supporting my my hormones and my endocrine system for going from premenopause to postmenopausal. So it's still one that I use. And I just take a little dab and I apply it right around my belly button. So also Progestins Plus, a great one. Vitamin D, make sure that you are supplementing vitamin D. I no longer supplement vitamin D. I get out in the sun. If that is one thing that I've learned differently from the beginning of my journey to now, when I was diagnosed, they said, don't go out in the sun. It will make your lesions worse. Use sunscreen. They didn't want any sun exposure. I went so far as to the windows where I spent a lot of time at, we put UV film on. So the one at my in my office where I sat at my desk, we put UV film on. The kitchen window where I would spend, time washing dishes and, and cooking there, we put film on that. And now there is so much evidence that the sun actually heals our body. And so it's just dramatic how we can learn and just do better. So I get my vitamin D outside. I love being in the sun. There's just so much goodness. But if you feel the need to take vitamin D, by all means, take vitamin D. Young Living has a great one. Life 9 probiotic was another key piece that I added into my routine. I have taken Parafree on and off, so that is something that you could incorporate as well. And a big one now that my gut is in a really good place is making sure that I'm using an enzyme. So Young Living has several to choose from. My favorite is Essential Zymes and Essential Zymes 4. Okay, and Detoxzyme. So they are so good, friends. They really help your body break down the food, and you're able to, use that food so that your body can absorb it, right? Your body needs to use the nutrients from the food that you're eating, not for it just to pass through your system. So there is a little bit of my story. And so I started some of these things, and over a period of 2.5 years, I gradually weaned myself off of that hydroxychloroquine. I kept seeing my doctor to be sure that I wasn't having any backwards movement, right? Remember, we were able to really track my progress by how I felt, but also by my blood work. So we were seeing positive progress in that. And so that was just great confirmation that what I was doing was working. So I had my last visit with my doctor in August of 2015. And that's when I broke up with my rheumatologist. It was somewhat emotional, I will give you that. And I did mention that, about 4 or 5 years after that period is when I went back to see him just to get some initial blood work run again. And I was still showing great results. So he's like, stop coming back to see me. So I didn't. So my body continues to do amazingly well. And I think it just goes to show you when you learn to be an advocate for yourself, amazing things can happen. If you don't feel comfortable with a doctor whose care you are under, it's time to find a new doctor. If you don't feel heard, if you feel like there's some piece missing, it's time to find a different doctor. Remember, they work for you. Okay, so when you feel empowered and you are heard, there is so much that can happen during that time. I'm proof. I am not special, but you are special, and you get to choose how you can best support your body with products, by your diet changes, by your mental health, and how you are going to pour into that. For you, there's just so much that we can do. And I love being teased about the granola crunchy mama, because my story goes from a mama that was Diet Coke, Taco Bell, Doritos, Wheat Thins, who had an autoimmune issue to dramatically shift things to now being 57, not on any medications, feel pretty darn good, have come out of menopause on the other side, keeping things in check. And now I'm surrounded by an amazing community that I can pour into with my experience. And they all have experiences, right? Like I said, the Young Living community is so special in that way. Everybody is here to serve each other. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you gathered something out of it. Even if you are not experiencing a diagnosis with lupus or another autoimmune issue, maybe something that you learned here, you will be able to share it with somebody who needs a little bit of hope. Because when you are traveling in that journey of any type of diagnosis, we all need some hope, right? And I think that's what we have in these products is hope, because it's so different than what typical Western medicine has to offer. And so I just want to encourage you. There's hope, friend. There's hope.